usually call me when I'm in Lesotho. You can see from my hat that there's already some global learning going on. I am from the Eastern Cape, so there is global relations happening already between South Africa and Lesotho. I am going to be facilitating this session with my passionate colleague, Alison, who's sitting in Cape Town. And we are going to be facilitating the session together. You'll notice that we will be working together in the different sessions to make sure that there's engagement and just to make sure that there's different voices in the room so that we can be together for the next 2 hours. I'm going to, without wasting time, I'm going to ask, as my culture dictates, that before I even start doing anything, I have to ask the owners of the house to welcome us and make us feel comfortable, and we can take off our jackets so that we can do the work that needs to be done. I'm going to ask Tedman to welcome everybody, and then after Tedman, I'm going to ask Sharon to welcome everybody, and then we'll get started. Thank you.
Thank you, Tuli. My name is Tedman. Tedman Alo. I'm based in the Nairobi office, working for British Council as schools advisor. And thank you very much, all of you who have found time to come. From the British Council side, we have our Professional Development and Partnerships Manager, Tracy Osuo from our Kampala office, and also our Southern Africa Support Manager, Shingi Ziki Shingai, based in Harare. We also have Fariz, who has been working very hard together with our facilitators from South Africa who have put this together. We have Sharon, who will be speaking to you shortly as well. But before she does that, just want to congratulate you for having earned the place here. It's the very first time we are doing this for schools in Lesotho and Connecting Classrooms 4, supporting you remotely in this webinar. So congratulations on having achieved the grant funding under the Connecting Classrooms grant. Be assured that we are going to work with you on this journey, and that's why all these people are here to support you. Thank you very much. And over to you, Sharon.
Thank you, Tedman. It's really fantastic to see how many people are coming into the meeting here now. And croeso in Welsh. Welcome to our first training session. Just a very quick overview from me and a welcome to everybody. We've got teachers that are representing 6 districts across Lesotho. They're part of eight different clusters that are linked with Wales. And I myself work on the Connecting Classrooms programme as well as actually for Dolan Cymru Lesotho. So it's through Dolan Cymru that we can organise this, and our colleague Manyane in Maseru, who has been really, really helpful in sending everybody airtime. Now, we are limited to how many people we can involve because it depends on the funding. So there's 8 clusters, and so there's 8 representatives from each school, in 1 representative from each school across the 8 clusters. So we should have around about 42 teachers, hopefully, that can take part. So whether or not they're in the meeting now, if they can't get in, we can share the recording. But just a quick bit of pronunciation so that everybody can laugh at me. But we've got people from Tabatseka, we've got people from Kuting, we've got Mahotlong, Maseru, Mahalis Hook, and Leribe. So welcome everybody, and it's going to be a fantastic session.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Thank you, Tedman. And I'm really enjoying what gift COVID has given us, because we are able to have Zimbabwe, Nairobi, we have Kampala, we're able to have Sharon from the UK, we're able to have people from South Africa and in Cape Town. So these are interesting and challenging times, but they've brought a lot of gifts with us to enable us to meet this way. So just a quick reminder, we've been working together on Teams. We ask you to download the Teams app. We've tried to support each other on our WhatsApp group that is running. Just a quick rundown on how we're going to be using or interfacing with our Teams app today. So if you can see my screen, this is the app that we're using today, so Teams. So if you are on your phone or on your computer, you should be able, if you move your cursor, you should be able to see this, right? So you should have here, you'll be able to see the timer, which is obviously the time that we're on now. So here you have this camera option. So you'll notice for me, because I'm the facilitator, I have my camera on, but I'm going to ask for you to go to this icon here. If you haven't got your camera off, if you just switch it off so that you can have the line across. Why am I suggesting this? It's because it saves data. So because when your camera is on, then it takes more data. So I would suggest that you put your camera off, and then when I ask you, and if you want to share, I will give you a chance to keep your camera, to put your camera on so that we can see your face. The next icon that you will see, forgive me, the next icon that you will see here is the microphone. Again, you will notice, sorry, my computer is eager. So again, you will notice that here my microphone is on because I am facilitating. And then again, you will be on mute, and we ask you, if you are not speaking, that you keep your microphone off. So when your microphone's off, that microphone should have a line going across it. This just ensures that there's no feedback noise that we get. And then it also makes sure that we keep whatever it is that is happening in your home in terms of voices private, and we don't hear anything. The next icon here is, you will see you have your hand icon. So today we're going to use this icon for those who are able to use it from your computer. Sometimes it's a challenge to find on your phone, the hands up icon. Don't worry too much about it, because today we are also going to allow ourselves to communicate also in our WhatsApp group. But those who are on their computers and you've got devices that allow you to do a hand up option. So if you want to ask any questions, or you want to have an input, or you want to give feedback, when we ask you to, please press that icon so that we can see you. It will say your hand is up. Once you have contributed, please press the icon again, because it will drop your hand so that we know that we don't have to come back to you. We've already engaged with you. So if you go to this icon here and you press on it, it should give you a number of options of the things that are available on Team. So I won't go a lot into that, because sometimes they are different. Sorry, my mouse is very sensitive. And then we have this icon here with this, which is our chat box. So our chat box, I'm going to be asking you to go to this option quite a lot today, because I want to make sure that in the 2 hours, Alison and myself are not just talking to ourselves. So we're going to ask you to go to this chat box, give some answers to some of the questions that we are going to pose to you, because how we're going to be running the sessions, we are not experts of international learning. We are all going to be learning from each other. So for us to have international learning going on, we're going to ask for your input. What do you think about the certain sessions that we're going to introduce? When you go back here, this is just going to show you this icon, how many people are on the call, some of your colleagues that are on the call with us. And this last option, I would rather you use, or please use, when we finish the call, because once you press this button, it's going to kick you out of the call. But if this so happens during the call, please dial in again, and you'll have to have patience, because we'll have somebody looking and they'll have to let you in again. So just a snap overview of how we're going to work with Teams. So just for 1 minute, I'm going to ask you, so that we know that this works and we know that we're together, if you can go to your chat box, which is this box, and all those who are able to give me a thumbs up. So go and find the thumbs up emoticon and give me a thumbs up. Those who are not able to do it on the chat box, please go to our WhatsApp group where we've been communicating with Sharon and give me a thumbs up from there so that I know you're still with me. So I'm going to give you just a minute. So encourage me, give me a thumbs up. Let's see. Can I ask Sharon and Alison, can you check for me the thumbs up? So remember, I'm just trying to make sure that we practice. Also, communicate with me via the BC Lesotho WhatsApp group so that we can see that you are there and you're able to communicate with us. I'm not seeing any thumbs ups. Lesotho, are we there?
It's coming in slowly but surely.
Okay.
On the chat
Fantastic.
box.
Okay. So I'm assuming that we're going to be using the chat box more because I'm seeing nothing on the WhatsApp group. Okay. Thank you. I can see a wave on the WhatsApp group. Thank you. I can see a thumbs up from Tabi. I can see thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay. So fantastic. So that is how we're going to communicate. So again, I'm just going to say, if you're not able to put your comment or your question on the chat on Teams, please put it on your WhatsApp group. As facilitators, we'll be monitoring both just to enable us to be able to communicate effectively. Again, I'm going to repeat, if you happen to drop off the call, come back and don't worry too much if you lose your network because this whole session is being recorded and Sharon and Fariz will be able to share the links with you so that you can be able to watch and listen at your own time. So let's get to it. Just a quick question again that is going to ensure that we're together. So if on the chat, WhatsApp chat, again, remember that box, and on WhatsApp, if you can start thinking of for me, so listen to the question quickly. So the question is, imagine, now I want you to imagine outside of the box that you personally were a country. Think about what country you will be and give one reason why you would be that country. So let me give you an example. I've had an opportunity to think about this last night. And so, as I said, my name is Tuli. So they call me Mme Bontle. If I was a country, the country that I would be America. My one reason is just simply this quote: when America sneezes, the world catches a cold. So I would love to have that kind of global influence so that I can influence the world positively. So I'm going to ask you now the question. So please put your answers in the WhatsApp chat or in the chat box. You put your name, remember, and what country you would love to be. So any country in the whole wide world. And then give one reason why you would like to be that country. I'm going to give 3 minutes for this exercise, and I'm going to expect as many answers as possible. Remember, here we are learning from each other, so there's no right or wrong answers. It's just what it is from you. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes. So all you have to put in the chat is your name, you would love to be, and one reason why you would love to be that country. So I'm giving you 3 minutes for this exercise. Let's go. Again, please, Alison, can you please watch and give me some of the answers that are coming back?
Definitely, we'll do so.
Thank you. So just one more minute left. So your name, what country would you be if you could be any country in the world, and just one reason? Okay. On my watch, 3 minutes is up. Alison, if you can just pop for me, what are some of the responses that are coming?
Okay, so we've got a few people who'd like to in countries in Europe.
Yes.
Happy people. Clement loves the UK because they've got a queen, and lots of people like Wales because they have resources and good education. Quite a few would like to be Lesotho.
Yeah. And some of the reasons that
some would like to be China because of their technology and ability to dominate the world.
Wow. And I'm enjoying how we've got quite a few, like you're saying, who say they would want to be Lesotho because it is peaceful and because the weather is cool. And it's quite interesting because we've already started the international partnership conversation. And we are starting to notice that there's actually some things that we can appreciate about our own countries and gifts that we can give to the UK. Any other comment that is interesting, Alison, before I move on?
Did you get the one on China?
Yes.
You did.
So there's somebody from China.
Yes, because
China, because its technology dominates the world. Fantastic.
Right.
Fantastic.
There are lots of soccer fans, but anyway, besides not to be in England because they've got the Premier.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ali. Your network, I'm battling to hear you a bit, but I got the gist of what you were sharing with us. So we've already started with a whole lot of international learning. It's amazing some of the things that are coming up because we're going to talk about some of the assumptions or stereotypes that we hold about some of the countries that we wish we would, the country that I wish I would be, because I'm assuming that America is still the superpower while other people would argue that China is the one now that detects, global politics. Anyway, thank you so much. And thank you. Now I can see at least that we are starting to engage with the tool. So I'll move on to my next slide quickly. So I'm just in the introductory part of session. Okay. So let me just share quickly what the desired outcomes for this session are. So by the end of the seminar, we hope that you will have started considering the benefits and challenges of working with schools from other countries. We are hoping that you will have started to think about ways of how global citizenship can enhance learning in your school and in your country. You have started thinking about international practice. So we're going to introduce you to international practice. You're going to have considered how to prepare for international learning. As Tetman has mentioned, that a lot of us on the call have already received grants. So we're already thinking about how we're going to do this. So this call is hopefully going to support you with that. And the final outcome will be identifying the kind of support that Connected Classrooms can give you in this journey when you're starting your partnership with Wales. So this is the agenda for today. And as I offered when I started, Alison, who's sitting in Cape Town, and Thuli, myself, will be facilitating the sessions. And at the moment, we are on session 2. We are not doing any reflections from webinar 1 because this is our webinar. We're going to be introducing you to international learning, global citizenship, intercultural practice. We're going to start getting you to think about how you're going to prepare for your international work. We're going to have somebody from Lesotho who's going to be our guest speaker. And this session, we are hopefully going to start hearing how we can learn from what is working. So the partnerships that have already been working and that are sustainable and that have been going on between Lesotho and Wales. We're going to talk about the next steps. And we're going to do a summary and closure. And the session is really about ensuring that everybody feels complete and we are ready and we know what we're going to do and when we're going to meet again. Right. So a quick one, just to expand a little bit on Connecting Classroom, what Tedman has started to share. So the purpose of Connecting Classrooms and just our meeting today is to support schools with global citizenship and international learning. Right, and we're going to do it in these. We have these 3 building blocks. So the first building block is partnerships. So we get we get an opportunity here, like we're doing online, to give you the support that you need as schools to build sustainable relationships with your linked schools. We professional development. It's part of it today, but there's a lot of other offerings that we're going to have that are going to help with the building of sustainable relationships with your schools. But this is about equipping yourself to tackle global themes in the classroom and to develop the relevant skills and outlooks in young people. So in everything that we remember that we're teachers and we're about improving the practice of teaching and learning. And one of the offerings that we have as a British Council is the introduction to core skills for the 21st century. So in your professional development, you'll also get an opportunity to get skills that you can immediately put in your pocket and go and apply in your schools to make sure that you give the relevant 21st century skills for young people. So and the third building group is this International School Award, right? Again, we have received grants, and receiving a grant means that we are in a partnership, not just with our linked schools, but also with the organization that are supporting our learning and development. So we are going to have an opportunity to celebrate and encourage and appreciate your school's commitment to international work. And we can only celebrate you when you have given us the evidence of your passion and commitment to this kind of work. So there is also an expectation then on our part as school leaders and school teachers that we are going to give evidence of how passionate we are about our international school partnerships and the links with our schools in Wales. So the approach that we're going to use, so as facilitators, the British Council programs, so not just the Connecting Classroom programs, the British Council programs that are delivered are based on these following approaches. The first approach is, you will notice we will be talking about journaling. We will talk about appreciative inquiry. And appreciative inquiry, if you notice, this is one of the homework videos that we have sent you, and this video is also on your WhatsApp group and on the Google Classroom platform that we are going to start practicing to use. And COP, which is short for community or practice, action planning, and adult learning theories. Just a quick one, with journaling, and all we're talking about here, when we're talking about journaling, we're talking about us as teachers and us as school leaders starting to think about our own thinking. So as we're saying here, the point of journaling is to discover many truths about yourself. So as a school leader, as a teacher who is also a practitioner in your classroom, journaling just enables you to start thinking and learning from your own practice so that you start improving how you're thinking. So, and you can start then journaling about your teaching and learning. Remember, if you're going to be teaching and learning, you also teaching and learning, and your practice is going to improve as you are introduced to more professional development practicing, right? So we also use appreciative inquiry. And appreciative inquiry, you'll notice, is one of the videos, like I said, we sent to you because we wanted you to spend time with it. But if you listen to the video, some of the outcomes, some of the learnings that I took from the video, for example, is that appreciative inquiry, we use it as a methodology because it's an outcomes-based methodology. So it ensures that we are not meeting for the sake of meeting, but we are meeting because we want to come together and work towards a common goal and outcome. It's a strength-based practice. So it encourages us not to focus on those things that are not working. It is about building and developing people's capabilities and capacities. I'm not going to spend too much time on appreciative inquiry because it's on the video. But if you notice, it's really just a methodology that combines these two words, to appreciate and to inquire. And it says, what would be different if we don't just inquire, we explore to discover and ask questions, but we ask questions that are going to esteem adequately or highly those we are asking questions of. So the other method is community of practice, like I said, COP. And community of practice, we've already started doing this with our interaction on WhatsApp. This is also a community of practice that we are starting today, but it's about people coming together who share a concern or passion for something, and they learn how to do it together. And they interact regularly. It's a professional partnership. It's about, community of practice that ensures that lessons generated by the partnerships are recorded and they're shared, just like we're going to record the session today so that you can listen to it at your own time and you can share with some of the teachers that are not here. And we are going to use action planning, obviously, because remember, as I said, with appreciative inquiry, we are about outcomes based. So action planning is just going to help us to be able to sequence the steps that must be taken or activities that must be performed for whatever strategy that we agree upon to succeed. And this is also referred to as an action program. Also, one of the methodologies or approaches that we mentioned, we're going to use adult learning theories. Again, I'm not going to go into it because when we were being trained as teachers, we went into these theories. But you will notice that as facilitators, even today, we're going to try and demonstrate or model these theories. So we're going to use experiential learning, and transformational learning. So this is why we're going to be asking questions, because we are learning together. We're going to be processing, problem solving together, procedural tasks, and we're going to ask you to self-reflect in your journals. So I know I'm chasing time because I want us to be able to deliver. So I hope this is clear. So we're going to do session 2, and I'm going to give an opportunity to load her slides, and we are going to start our introduction to international learning. Ali, are you still there? Sometimes we lose each other. Faris? Oh, Alison?
Yeah, I'm just checking.
Are you able to share?
Just a moment, please.
Okay.
Okay. Can I put the videos off, please?
Okay.
Okay.
Are you able to share?
I'm just trying to get in there. Just a moment, please.
Okay. Let me know if I can assist.
Yeah.
Something is coming.
Something. Is it coming through?
We can just see the, I think we can see the cover of your Teams page.
All right. Will you put on the slide for session 2 from your end, please, Julie? Will you share from your end, please, session 2 slides?
No problem.
Good day, everyone. And thank you for your participation so far. I would like to start the session by asking you what you think international learning is. And if you can put that into the chat box or into the WhatsApp group, you have a minute to do that. What is international learning? Julie, while our participants are giving me a response, let me try to share my slide again, okay?
Okay.
If you can close yours.
Okay.
Have you closed yours?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, has anything come through? What is international learning?
I have nothing on the WhatsApp groups. I'm just checking. I have Tabang. Tabang says it is globalized sharing of content.
That's great.
So international learning is a global learning. Anything else? Can I ask those who are not able to communicate with us? You can even write on our Facebook group.
Okay, and someone said it's acquiring and sharing information about other countries.
Fantastic.
Great. Okay, so Tuli, I'm going to ask you to go back to the slides because I'm not winning on this end.
No problem.
Thank you. Right.
Okay, I'll
if
be
we
led
go
by
back-
you when you want me to move.
Next slide, please. Okay, so international learning in a short version is learning between countries. And the reason this is important is that we live in a global world. This is the 21st century. And the kind of learning that we look at that will demonstrate and describe whether we are an international school ready for a global environment is if we look at our learning materials, our school ethos, and our curriculum. When we look at our learning materials, we check to see, are those materials diverse? Are those materials showing the interdependence of various countries in the world? Are those learning materials looking at similarities and differences in the world? Are we getting a sense of what is local and global? If our learning materials have those kind of descriptions, then we can say our learning materials are global and international. If we look at our curriculum, if our curriculum focuses on critical thinking, on good communication skills, on creativity, open-mindedness, connections between the various subjects, showing the international context, and it focuses on sustainable living, then our curriculum has elements of international learning. If our school ethos focuses on participation, on everybody getting involved, on fairness, on welcoming differences and welcoming people from various backgrounds. If the school ethos is caring, then our curriculum or our school ethos has elements of international learning. Because if we don't have these kinds of focuses in our materials, our curriculum, and our school ethos, we will not be fit for a global environment. Next slide, please, Julie. So, very quickly then, the definition of international learning refers to activities involving two or more countries and having those characteristics that I described. Next to please, Tuli. Next slide. What I would like you to do now is to put down in the chat box or in the WhatsApp group why you are interested in international learning. Why are you interested in international learning? You have 3 minutes to do so. Paris, can we have some music for the background? Why? are going to pause there, and I'm going to ask to see what has come up in the WhatsApp chat, and I will bring up what has come up in the meeting chat. So, Tuli, what's come up in the WhatsApp?
Thank you. Yes, answers are coming up fast and furious. The first one to respond was Limpo. So, halala Limpo. She says she's interested in international learning because her learners will be able to make friends with others and they'll be able to experience life skills and another culture. We have another question. It's because it helps broaden our scope on ideas and increases critical thinking, while at the same time we acquire new skills and competencies. Should I give you to read from there and then I'll continue?
Okay. So in terms of the chat, people are saying they want to be able to share skills and strategies and modify their own personal abilities.
I think I've got also I've got somebody who says it's about they're interested in acquiring different methodologies and they want to exchange on how to do things with different countries. I think others are saying that they are very curious about different things from other countries that they can learn. And I've got somebody saying that they want to broaden their experience of the knowledge of teaching and learning, and they want to apply the new skills and techniques that they have learned. So there's a lot coming in.
I'm sorry about that. I lost contact.
Okay.
I was saying that people were indicating in the chat that they want to share skills and strategies to modify their own personal abilities and to prepare a younger generation to engage in world contact and to appreciate others' cultures, to learn new languages, and to appreciate one's own culture in comparison to others. Tuli? Okay, so there are many issues that you have covered already in our chat, in our WhatsApp group. I've just got a slide here to identify some of the reasons why people have indicated in the past why they were interested in international learning. To develop friendships, first and foremost, to share practices in schools, to develop leadership and teaching skills, to improve attainment in schools, to enrich teaching, to practice using computers on the internet, to introduce new ideas and ways of thinking, to study the geography of different places, to practice foreign languages, and to provide opportunities for learners to put global situations into practice. I'm going to pause there and ask you to think about what challenges you have had if you are already in a partnership, or what challenges do you think you might anticipate going into partnerships and into international learning? What are some of the challenges do you think that will come up? Your 3 minutes starts now. Okay, that's our feedback. From the WhatsApp chat, what are people saying are the challenges that they're facing?
Well, so Fast and Furious again, thank you so much. I think one of the challenges that is coming strongly is communication across languages. People are talking about a cultural shock, a lack of resources. Specifically, I think what is coming out is technology and people not being able to use digital technology. I think, yeah, so that is what I'm picking up. Language barriers that will affect communication. So that's what I'm picking up so far.
Yes, even on this end in the chat, people do see the difference in resources, the levels and access to resources as a possible challenge, financial support for this process, as well as communication problems. Some of the challenges that have come up in international learning partnerships have got to do with getting the buy-in of others on your staff to engage in these international partnerships. The challenges around involving other members, the perception that this is an add-on rather than an actual part of the curriculum, and the resistance to taking on international learning. The difference in exchange rates, you know, there is more that you can do with the pound in Lesotho than you can do with the Lesotho currency in Wales. So the funding issue is a problem. Some challenges involve getting the support of the head teacher. If the head teacher is not on board, then this international engagement becomes problematic. In the exchange, the learning and teaching exchange, the co-teaching across classrooms, challenges around the different teaching and learning styles, different educational priorities and interests in the different schools, the broad inequality between the different schools, sustaining the relationships, aligning school calendars have been a challenge. You know, especially around holidays and exam periods. When do you schedule your visits, and how do you schedule your lessons around your common lessons around your different calendars? Cultural misunderstandings, finding time, and the different expectations of those involved. So we can already see right at the beginning and anticipate some of our challenges, and this will bring us to why we need to iron out how we would work, what our expectations would be, and how you build for international learning, how you prepare for international learning. Okay, let's look at what global citizenship looks like. In our preparation for international learning, we will focus on global citizen. It's key to why we have international exchange. And when we talk about global citizenship, we're looking at 3 areas of activity coming together, 3 focus points. Looking at myself and what learning and citizenship looks like for me, looking at others and what citizenship looks like for others in their countries, and then looking at how we relate to the environment, to the planet. When those 3 come together, myself, who I am, what I do, what I think, and how I learn, and how others think and learn, and how we all relate to the environment, that interconnection is what we focus on as global citizenship. And there will be a particular module that we will do as preparation and part of this journey of partnership that is global citizenship. And there will be a particular module. You also know that we focused and asked you to look at the Sustainable Development Goals, and these goals are global goals. If we are wanting to fit our students and ourselves as global teachers to serve a purpose, then not only have we got to know how to be global citizens, but there are a number of themes and skills that we need to be familiar with and working on. There are 17 global goals under the Sustainable Development Goals, and you have that in front of you. There will be a specific module on global themes and skills as we go forward with preparing for partnerships. You are being asked to focus on a particular or one or two of these global themes in your project work with each other as schools. Focusing on, getting rid of poverty, addressing the global challenge of hunger, good health and well-being. And it's very important when we talk about well-being, not only are we looking at all the health challenges globally, but we are also looking at the mental well-being and the social well-being of people in global Sustainable Goal 3. Ensuring everyone has quality education, ensuring gender equality, clean water and sanitation, decent work that involves economic growth of people, looking at the kind of global infrastructure we need, and so on. Peace and justice, consumption and materialism, and looking at what do we need to stop doing, like consuming plastic, and how you protect your planet, how you build strong institutions under Global Goal 16 to ensure peace, looking at life on land and planet and below land in the seas, and looking at climate action. So there are a whole lot of goals around the environmental theme. You need to begin to think about what global themes you want to tackle jointly with your partnership schools. For those of you who are already in partnerships, you've already chosen your themes. If you already have partnerships and chosen your themes, please pop into the WhatsApp group. What are some of the themes that you have been thinking about? If you are starting a partnership, what is the theme that you want to choose, and why would you like to work on that theme with your partner group? And I'm just giving you 1 minute. I just want you to choose the sustainable goal that you want to work on or would like to work on with your partner school. So just choose the global theme. Bye. Okay, so from what's come in, people are interested in quality education, which is global goal 4, well-being, global goal 3. People are wanting to focus on infrastructure, and concrete reconstruction and development in countries. So you will have a chance when you start your partnership to have discussions with your partner school on the themes that you would like to work on. So get thinking about which of these 17 goals you want to work on. I'm going to pause here now and hand over to Thuli, just to say the other two that have come up are racism and gender equality that schools would like to work on. Thank you, Thuli. Over to you for session 3.
Thank you so much, Ali. I'll say halala, Ali, halala.
Okay.
Thank you. So we move to our session 3. Can I just quickly get an indication? We can continue. We're chasing time, so I'm going to suggest that we not take a comfort break. We'll continue, colleagues. Now we go into a session where we start introducing intercultural practice. So what we are thinking about here is Alison has introduced to us what we are talking about when we say international learning. We've done a little bit of thinking about why we are interested in international learning, and some of us who are in programs, we also have started thinking about where we want to intervene, and we looked at the development goals. Alison referred to the video that we sent to you. Please go and look at it again. And also just a reminder that even those of you who are already in partnerships, you may feel, for example, that there's another goal that may have a lot more impact, and maybe as a partnership, Lesotho needs to rethink, and maybe another goal that is going to be more impactful and have more scale that you would like to discuss with your partner. This is also an opportunity to do that, because in development, you always work with the now, wanting to make sure that you're always current, right? So let's look at session 3, introduction to intercultural practice. So when we talk about intercultural learning, obviously there's going to be intercultural practice. Because this is about partnerships, this is about two countries working together, as some of you have mentioned. It's about culture shocks. So when we talk about intercultural practice, what we're talking about is basically it's about how you feel. So we here, as it says, the good starting point of thinking about intercultural practice is having an awareness of how our own cultural practices and influences influence our thinking. So some of our own, for example, personal awarenesses and personal cultural preferences have come up in the way that we've identified some of what we perceive could be challenges of an international relationship. So if we're going to talk about intercultural practice, I think, as we know, at the heart of the African ethics philosophy here in South Africa, in the Nguni language, we call it Ubuntu. And that's a philosophy, it's an African philosophy that I believe applies to all of us as African people. In Lesotho, it's Boto. I am because you are, because we are. And immediately when you start talking about Boto says it's not just about you. It's also about how you relate to others and how you and others relate to your community. But what we are saying today with us here, we need to also start thinking about our own thinking. We need to start thinking about what are those things that we have, maybe some of the stereotypes that we may have about other countries, some of the things maybe that we have seen in the media, whether it's false news or news that are impacting our thinking, and some of the stereotypes and assumption that we may have about the countries that we are going to visit or our partner schools. Even the assumption that our partner school, for example, has more resources than we do. So we need to start thinking about those things. Is that how we are thinking? Are we thinking about just financial resources in terms of human capital as being resources? Also, when you start thinking about your own thinking, you start thinking about some of the stereotypes that you hold, some of the assumptions that you're having, and some of the fears that are based on things that you assume you know. Then as somebody who is curious about intercultural learning or intercultural practice, rather, and you saying that you are interested in international learning, we want to move then each other or together to start thinking about, instead of maybe focusing on those things that we are not denying are there. For example, somebody raised the assumption or their fear about potential racism. So is it possible for us then to start tapping into those parts of our thinking that help us focus on those things that may be similar? So schools in Wales and schools in Lesotho, there are things that are similar. I mean, I think the first one, which is obvious, is that everybody who's involved in international learning is interested in the rights and the interest of the child, the learner. And the learner is our primary focus, and we are interested in improving teaching and learning in our schools. So, so looking at the similarities between people, and highlighting all of those for our educators. Those are the things. And if you looked at the video for the appreciative inquiry video, this is encouraging us to focus on a strength-based approach, to focus on those things that are going to create ownership for both Lesotho and for Wales, and those things that are going to enhance the strength of everybody in the system. And when we talk about system now, we talk about everybody who's going to be involved in the cluster, in the international learning practice. So, so just a quick one. If you look at this side, there's a few questions here that I would like you to think about. The questions are here. I will also want you to go back and think about it remember we said journal, and a journal is just your notebook. Go and think about your own thinking, right? There are 3 powerfully disruptive questions that this teacher or this practitioner is thinking about. They're thinking about international learning, different countries, the relationships, and they're thinking about what stereotypes do I have about, so in our context, for example, because we are talking about Europe and we're talking about the UK, the people in Wales might be thinking, asking themselves, scratching their heads, what stereotypes do I hold or do I have about Africa? Not just Lesotho. You know, they have certain stereotypes about Africa. I know a lot of times that I travel, people are usually in awe that I live in the same place with, when I wake up in the morning and I leave my house, I say hello to an elephant, hello to a rhino, and then for me to get to work, I just get on the back of a zebra to get to work. So those are some of the assumptions that people hold about African countries generally. And then ask yourself this question: what similarities are there? So although we have these things that we're thinking about in terms of, okay, this is what the UK probably looks like. Some of us have been to the UK and there's things that surprised us. Some of us know that there's similarities because we've already experienced this and we've seen it. And some of us know that there's similarities because, you've done your research, because we have the benefit now of social media. You've seen the sharing that is done by your other teachers and colleagues. So start thinking about what are some of the similarities that you think are going to be there in your partnerships, and those who are already in partnerships, what similarities are there? And what are some of the differences that you've noticed that are there, right? So I'm going to ask you for just 1 minute I'm going to set my watch quickly. Just 1 minute to encourage you to think about this and just for us to do it differently and so that there's another voice to give feedback. I'm going to ask you now to practice some of the Google Teams I shared with. Sorry, the word is the emoticons that I shared there. So if you look at your panel, there's that raising of hands, right? I'm going to take 3 hands. So can you, Alison, Faris, or Sharon, just check which 3 hands come up first. And those 3 people, please answer, what stereotypes do you have? What similarities? So you give me one each, just one. What stereotypes? So one thing that comes to you that might be a stereotype that you have about the UK. One thing that you think might be similarities between the UK and Lesotho, or your school and your link school. And one thing that you think is going to be a difference, something that is different between Lesotho and your link school. So I'm going to set the timer for 1 minute. We're going to take 3 hands. So let's see who lifts up their hands quickly, and they can give us just 1, 2, 3 points of stereotypes. What are the similarities? What are the differences? So your 1 minute starts now. And then please lift up your hands. And those who are not going to lift up the hands, if we don't get to you, please do answer on the chat and do answer in the WhatsApp group. So 1 minute starts now. So again, when you're ready, lift up your hand so that we can see. So 1 minute is up. Do you have any hands up, Ali?
Well, we have Mr. Poco's hands up, but we're going to speak with him later. So I suggest we take Mr. Tabang Tlali.
Yay! Halala, Mr. Tabang. Can you show us your face? So you can unlock your video so that we can show us your face, and then you tell us one stereotype you're thinking about, one similarity, and one difference.
Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Ndate?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can perfectly, and we can see you. Yes.
Thank you. On my stereotype, the stereotype that I thought is since they are the people from the rich countries, I think they have money, and it says everything they want, they get it. The similarity that I have discovered is about the weather. The weather in UK is somehow same to our country.
Fantastic.
So what is the last question?
What is the difference? What do you think is going to be different things between Lesotho and the UK? Just one thing that's going to be different.
Okay, I think is their culture, the way they do things will be far different from the one that we are doing here.
Thank you. Yeah, hala, let's say hala, 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 hala. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Another hand?
We have Mr. Malloy. Josias Malloy.
Thank you, Mr. Malloy. Mr. Malloy, you've got the floor. Anybody else, Ali, while Mr. Malloy is trying to get through?
I think we go with Limpo. Limpho, Limpo.
Yes. Me?
Me?
So unmute your microphone and open your video so that we can hear you and see your face. Please, if you're struggling and you need some support on how to do this, just put a message on the WhatsApp and Fariz will try and support you. We just want you to practice using these tools. I'll take anybody else, Ali, before we move.
We have another one, Kibogile, that has a raised hand.
Oh, okay.
Feel free to unmute your microphone and your camera.
Hello, everyone. Do you hear me?
Fantastic. We can hear you. We can see you.
Yeah.
Hey. Yes.
Hi. Okay. When talking about UK is very advanced from us. So the stereotype is that the way you teach your learners is very different from us. So our stereotype, we are stereotyped because we think you have more materials than us. We have to improvise more when we teach our learners. Yeah.
Fantastic. What similarities, me?
The similarities is that we are both teachers. We use the same methods, but with different level. That's our similarity.
Thank you. One difference that you can think of?
The difference is that UK is very rich, I can say, and Lesotho is very poor. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing so generously stereotypes, because I know there's nothing wrong with it. It's not right or wrong. It's the way that you believe it is, right? So thank you, Me. Allah. So thank you so much. Yes, Allah. So you can mute yourself and close your video. So I'm excited because we're starting to interact with the tools, teams, and as we go along, we're going to get better. And thank you for the people who also tried to raise their hands. So we're going to be using these a lot so that you can see. So, but you can see from our responses that we do hold stereotypes about our link schools. They're not right, they're not wrong. It's what we think is. We know that there are similarities, and this also excites me because it means that we are not just focusing on those things that may bog us down in terms of problems. We're also thinking about those things that bring us together as a system. And we're also thinking about some of the differences. And I like that it came up from the two answers that differences are not just only positive differences, they're also negative differences. So our differences, our assumption that we hold that they have better resources than we do, but also there's also a good difference that is that we both have cold weather. So we're not going to be too badly affected in terms of the weather shock when we get to Lesotho. So thank you very much for that. So let's look at some of the cultural differences. You've raised that, and let's see, for example, what usually happens when we are part of international learning and some of the international practices that happens in the world. So the one thing that's usually glaring, and you have pointed it out correctly, is that because we are from different countries, we have different cultures, and that's okay. You know, difference is something that we want to value and celebrate. An example, if you look here, you have some cultures where when they say no, you know, they shake their heads, you know, from left to right. But you have, for example, people from India, Asia. So India, yeah. So when they say no, they nod. You know, that's immediately, that's a cultural similarity and difference, because for us, we'll probably fall in this category that when we say no, we shake our heads from left to right. So it just teaches us, you know, that there is a difference. So when you're going to be part of international learning, international practice is for you to be respectful. You have to do some research and find out these things. For example, you find that in our African cultures, you have this when you meet somebody, whether it is a male or female, you know, you may shake their hands, But in my culture, especially if it's somebody from the opposite sex, usually what I am taught is that, yes, you shake their heads, but you don't shake it firmly and you don't look them in the eye. In European cultures, you might find this being interpreted of being not being sincere and not being genuine. If your handshake is not firm and you're not looking the person in the eye, it would be almost like you have something to hide, right? In some culture, again, Asian cultures, you find that, it's not about meeting people and shaking hands. It's about, bowing to show a sign of respect. And that's what you do. So you would have to find out about that. Although I'm thinking a lot of these cultural similarities that I'm talking about and differences may have just been shattered by the epidemic that we're living in, because now, because of social distancing and all other things, we cannot shake hands. We have to, in South Africa, we elbow punch, we hug or whatever, but we don't shake hands, we don't hug anymore. So you can see that, these are fluid, and you would have to spend time thinking about your own thinking and finding out what you have to do with yourself to be able to engage with your partners. I think one of the comments that came up in our WhatsApp, in the WhatsApp group, about some of the things that people are thinking about their own thinking and some of the ways that they think they might think about doing better in. Somebody said they think that they are shy. So, and that may be something that hinders communication. So that may be something that you think about and find out how are other ways that you can communicate. Just again, this one, for example, this in my culture, and I think in African cultures generally, you just do not point a finger at adults, at anybody actually when you communicate. It's seen as disrespectful. I suspect it might be very similar in the UK about pointing fingers at somebody, because that is just seen to be being disrespectful. So that might be something that is a similarity for all of us. And you may find, for example, here, how I interpret this one, it's about, it's different people in the system, how you value, things like ageism, everybody is able to contribute. So are you coming, for example, from a culture that says that children are supposed to be seen, not heard? Are you from a culture that says, okay, only the elderly have wisdom, so if somebody is young, they cannot contribute anything of value? So these are some of the things that we put there to try to start to illustrate some of the cultural practices that may come up. So what I would like you to do for me again, and now for the sake of time, just 1 minute, again, just in the chat box, right? Remember, you're thinking about your own thinking. We're thinking about you. So my apologies. So in the chat box for me and in your WhatsApp, right? So everybody just think and put what you're thinking. So in the chat box, put any 2 similarities that you are thinking about the UK, and any 2 differences that you are thinking in terms of now culture between the African culture and the UK culture. So what going to do, just 1 minute, just keep popping them out there. And even if we don't get to see all of them, put them there, because remember, this is a community of practice group. It's good to know what others are thinking so that we can learn from each other. So 1 minute starts now. Just 2 things, 2 similarities and 2 differences that you think are there between the African culture and the UK culture. Remember, there's nothing right or wrong. It's the way that you see it for you right now. So 1 minute starts now, and then we're going to just take a few from there, and then we move on. Thank you. Okay, Alison?
Got you, yes.
Yes, just a few things that are coming up.
I'm unable to pick up at the moment because of connectivity problems. So I can't pick up anything on the WhatsApp right now.
Okay. I also don't see anything, but what I'll do, please keep putting in. I can see there's one that has come up, differences.
Yes.
They're thinking about the greetings. We don't hug and kiss, but the UK, they hug, they kiss, especially the opposite sex. Good one. Good one.
Yeah.
Okay, keep them coming. Keep them coming. We'll capture them there. But I just want, quickly for sake of time, because I want us to get as much as we can in this first session. I want us now to think about how do we start preparing for this international work. Remember that we're going to be doing international work. It's international partnerships that we're talking about. And we're saying in international partnerships, we have just realized that there's going to be similarities, there are going to be differences. What we are going to start learning now is how do we embrace, celebrate those differences so that we can work together to create sustainable partnerships with our link schools, right? So how do you prepare for international partnerships? So I was having a conversation with Sharon just before we started the call, just admiring how engaged and how the WhatsApp group was just going on and on until the night, people wanting to make sure that they're here, teachers trying to ascertain which clusters have to be here. I really, really appreciated that. It gave me so much enthusiasm for our session today. So that has already started happening, because even just that process of trying to ensure that who has to be on this call today, who are the cluster leaders and all of that, we started preparing for our international learning as Lesotho, so that by the time we meet or when we continue to engage with our link schools, even if we're engaging online, we are practicing even how we would be engaging online with them. So one of the things, for example, that is crucial as a school is we need to involve our head teachers. Research supports this, that it shows that where head teachers is involved, professional partnerships take place, they continue, and they're sustainable, right? So that's the first thing that is important. The next big thing is, yes, we want to work and do our bit to contribute to the social development goals, right? That this is the global agenda. I mean, we want to take part in that. At the same time, we want to be able to set realistic goals that will be able to enable us as partners to stay encouraged, but to be able to show evidence of how we've moved forward, to show evidence of impact, and engage in things that we also may be able to scale in Lesotho, so that more schools and more teachers, even in rural areas, can be able to engage in international learning because they're learning from us, right? I think this it's so important. You need, as a head teacher, as a school, as a teacher as well, who happens to be on this call, your staff involvement is crucial, because you want your school to encourage you. You want there to be ownership, because I feel that when the staff is involved, then they support you, they support the head teacher, they support the goal, and they can even encourage you to think about things that you haven't thought about as a cluster, right? So again, what I'm going to do, just to hear another voice quickly, or maybe I will stop this because I want to give time to our guest speaker, right? So let me just go through some of the things that have been suggested about what you can do to start preparing or start thinking about preparing for international partnerships. Those of you who already have partnerships have already started doing these things, but it's very important sometimes to name and label what you're doing so that you know you're on track, right? Important. One of the skills, core skills that you need to teach your learners so that they're able to live and thrive in the 21st century is student leadership. So you have to involve your learners, and you have to take into account that they have their own perceptions about your link school. They have their own perceptions about the UK. Find out about them so that you can do almost a baseline, so that you can find out what perceptions did they have before you started with your link schools, and what do they think now that you finished the project. You know, you will find things that are surprising. You'll find a lot of stereotypes that have been shattered. You'll find that children and your learners have been able to find more similarities than we've been able to think of. So also think about your startup costs. I know we at the moment we have this assumption and this underlying fear about the cost of the project. Yes, there's a grant that we get from the British Council. Think about innovative ways of how you're going to start your project. For example, one of the gifts I always say that COVID has given us is the ability to use a platform like Teams. So can you imagine how much it would have cost for me and Alison, all the people from Zimbabwe, we heard from Kampala, from Nairobi, to come and sit with you in one room to help you start, right? So think about these things, because then there might be more effective and efficient ways of having your initial meeting so that you don't spend too much money. Think about your staff times. You know, some of the countries, I know in South Africa, for example, policy will dictate that you can only interact with staff or get them to work on other things outside of schooling hours, which would mean in the afternoon. So, so do identify your startup costs. Alison did point out as well that, you know, the currencies will fluctuate. So the perception in the UK of what Lesotho is able to do may be based on the strength of the UK pound. So we need to think about these things. We need to be intentional. We need to start thinking about the aims of our partnership. You know, it says here collaborative, international and global projects, geography and English, for example, right? Remember, again, we put the SDG goals as our place of starting. So we look at that. People have already started thinking about where they would like to intervene. And remember, again, here, the operative word is collaboration, right? In every partnership, if you don't speak out, there's always going to be that dominant partner that will then suggest how we go forward, and they will suggest which development goal that you choose. So make sure that there is an equal hearing of voices. So there must be representation from Lesotho, there must be representation from the UK, and then you must agree to a development goal that is going to be mutually beneficial for the UK and for Lesotho, so that there can be that mutual interest for your learners, for your school, for the country, but also a goal that is going to encourage everybody to start celebrating the difference among the schools, right? Other things to think about quickly. Think about external support. Remember, I said that the African ethical principle of our principles of Boto. You know, I said at the heart of African ethics is Boto. So we know that, you know, when we get involved in things, it's not just about us, right? You know, that's how we say it in my language, you know. So kind of external support you're looking for. So don't think that your school is the only stakeholder, for example, that is going to be engaged. Think about other stakeholders, you know, other best practice schools. There's some schools who've done this. British Council, we're already there here, and we're telling you how we could support. Get your community involved, you know, the parents involved. Get, you know, local businesses and other people involved. Get developmental education centers involved. There's other NGOs who are involved who may be very interested in the partnership that you're forming, right? So a curriculum edit, please forgive me. Curriculum audit, I think Alison spoke about this, because when you're doing international learning, we need to know that, you know, we do a curriculum audit. So you have to work with what is already happening in your school, right? We encourage you to set up an international committee in your school. you have to identify what we call champions, because every cause that has been successful needs a champion. So identify those champions who are going to help you drive international learning, and who are going to help you create sustainable programs in your schools. So I'm going to leave it there, and we're going to go into the next session that Ali is going to take over. Can we ask our guest speaker to stand by? And Ali?
Yes, thank you, Tuli. So if you think back to what we said international learning is all about, it involves global citizens, our learners and our teachers, having a sense of themselves and their assumptions, working challenges in the environment. And the challenges in the environment are represented by those sustainable goals that we want to achieve. Each of those goals represent a challenge that we want to address. So interacting in all of that, you have this idea of global citizenship. The purpose of our international learning is to become global citizens, realizing what happens in one part of the world affects other parts of the world, realizing that we are interdependent and interconnected. And I think our guest speaker, Mr. Poko, will bear me out with his experience of what he has learned from an international partnership. Mr. Poko is the principal of Tabani Tswana Primary, and we have the pleasure of having him with us today to engage in a little interview session where he's going to share with us his experience. So, Mr. Poko, can I ask you to please come on and switch your video on, please?
Hello, May.
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Can you switch your video on, please? Because we can hear you, but can't see you yet. Go to the video icon and turn it on.
Okay. It's on now.
It's on? All right. And let's see, you are coming through. Welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, May?
I'm good. So I have a few questions that I would like to engage you on, and this we're going to do in a conversation. So first off, tell us, who was your partnership with?
Okay, May. Thank you very much, and let me acknowledge this opportunity that you are giving me to be a guest speaker in this glorious conversation. So now, when I go to your question, can you please repeat it?
Who is your school partnership with? Who's your partner in Wales?
Okay, my school is partnered with Junior Henry School. It is in Wales, Caerphilly.
Okay, and how long have you had this partnership now? How long is it going? When did it start?
This is now about 6 years. We started in 2015.
Wow, that's a long time. So there must have been lots and lots of sharings and learnings. I would be interested to for you to share, 3 learnings from each of these following categories. First off, when you look at your school ethos and you look at the other school ethos, what was your learning about school ethos in this partnership?
Okay. First of all, I've just learned that we don't neglect the people according to their church denominations. Each and every learner is valued at our school. Consider human rights and equality. And also, we see to it that there is a democracy in our schools.
Mm-hmm. So your values were similar, you'd say?
Yes.
Okay, great. And when you looked at teaching approaches, what was there? What did you discover? And any lessons for you from that engagement, your teaching approaches?
Yeah, here in school, in my school, we use differentiations, experiential learning, individuals, collective learning, and direct, and also integrated. So that is what I have just learned. Even in my partner school, they do the same. Just to mention that.
Okay. So I mean, then we would say that your school is pretty global then in its values and its teaching approaches. So how about learning materials?
Yes, for learning materials, based on my school and our country and our education system in Lesotho here, we use each and everything which is around us. We can use charts, local available materials, we recycle, we can use stones for counting, sticks, and some of the materials that are provided by the Minister of Education. But mostly, we just use what is near to us, what we have. And what we don't have, we just improvise. Just for example, if we want to teach at children about maybe the laptop, and we don't have it basically, we can take the pictures of the laptops. If you want to show those children the fridge or the radio, you go there with the pictures. That's what we do.
Yeah. So you've raised an important point there. Do you think, like, when you compare the two schools, do you think your school is technologically on par or not?
Can you come again?
When you think about technology in the school setup, do you think that there's a big difference between your school and your partner school, or is it not so big a difference?
Yeah, there is a difference. There is a great difference between my school and my partner school because, well, in Hendria, they have every resource, each and every resource that they need, they have it. But on my side, we don't have them. But in the case of technology, I think we are able to improvise. So according to me, I think we are the best master of the on our locality. So if we are able to recycle, we are able to improvise. I think that's technology. So that is the technology which is on our side.
That you raise a really important point here about local context and the absolute importance of improvisation. The ability of the teachers to be creative and to improvise in order to teach according to the means that you have. And this in itself is a learning for staff in Wales. Mm-hmm. How one adapts and how one innovates in your own local circumstances. Thank you for that, because I think, one of the things brought up by teachers when we asked what challenges they thought they would face, a lot of them brought up the issue of technology and ICT. And while this might be a difference, it is not necessarily a negative thing. Where creativity and innovation is lacking in teachers, that would be a problem. Whereas when you use situational learning, situational sensitive learning, then teachers are right. View now, in terms of your own person, were there any cultural shifts that occurred for you, and what were they personally?
person.
Because we all have
Again,
assumptions, right?
because of the
We have stereotypes, all of that kind of thing, like Tuli was saying. So what were some of the personal shifts that happened for you by engaging relationships?
The network now is problem. Can you repeat that again, maybe for the last time? It's like
Yes, I will.
Yes, ma'am.
You've had personal learnings as you've gone along in the 6-year partnership. What were some of the personal cultural shifts that happened for you, that you experienced? And often these have got to do with our assumptions and our stereotypes and our biases. What changed for you?
In the Lesotho context, we used to use corporal punishment in our schools. And we know that it is forbidden by law to punish learners in the classrooms, but we do. So once I visited in Wales, I just learned how I can approach the learners who have maybe trespassed with the school laws, rather than using the corporal punishment. So we changed our mindset on how we have to punish or approach the children, since we linked with Hendra Junior School. And also we have just learned how to maybe to look for the children with disabilities, how we can handle them, how we can teach them. So I think if I'm getting your question right, that's what we did.
Yeah. So you no longer agree with the K. That's what I'm hearing you say. That's what I'm hearing you saying about personal shifts around discipline, how to discipline in creative ways, rather than using violence. Thank you for that. By the way, what SDG did your partnership focus on? Did you have the same goal or theme that you worked on? Can you tell us about that?
Okay, we just worked on the same theme, which is SDG 3, health, good health and well-being. Yes.
You want to tell us a little bit more about, how you think about wellness and what you did in your project?
We chose that theme because based on my school situation, we have maybe 95% of learners who are vulnerable, and we just wanted them to be self-reliant, to be able to grow crops for themselves to feed their families, because most of them are hitting the families. Some of the learners are orphans, and in those families who are orphans, other orphans are looking after another orphans. Yes. So we thought that could be a great help for them to know how to produce for themselves, and also how to take care of themselves and others that they are raising in the families. Yeah. And also we thought if we could start this at school, it's going to benefit the community, in the sense that these children cannot steal. When it is during the weekends, they will be keeping themselves busy, working in the garden. Mm-hmm. They will be selling the vegetables or the crops that they have grown to the community. Mm-hmm. So that is going to reduce the crime that normally being committed or being done by the children who are adult-minded. Also, used this number of the street kids who are just walking up and down and asking money to the people in the roads there. Yes.
Thank you for that. So this was my last question to you. What should we do in your opinion, to ensure strong and lasting partnerships? You've got a partnership of 6 years old now. What in advising those who are just starting out on this partnership journey, what do you think we need to do to ensure strong and lasting partnerships?
Okay. I think, like we have started now, I would like to applaud this one of the conferences and workshops that you are holding now. So I think the first thing to make it strong and everlasting is to hold the conferences, workshops, and sharing of skills and experiences for teaching and learning. And lastly, and also funding the trainings, not just the funding. After funding, I think you can just go and check whether what we have been planning and what people have said they are doing. You can just go and then check whether it is true or not, and how the project maybe that they are doing is being continued. So I think that is, if we can take the chances to find how people are doing in their project, like what and that it had, and yes, Mayor, who is presenting there, have just done to our country here. They just visited us just to check whether we are still doing, and then if the project is still living. So
okay, so what I gather is face-to-face contact is very important for strong partnerships. Constant communication and conferencing is very important to maintain, well, to develop and to maintain strong partnerships. So, sir, it's great to know that you've got this ongoing partnership, and we wish you well, both the schools in this partnership. I want to say thank you for sharing with us as we move towards closure of this session. We encourage our participants to put down any questions that they would like to ask Tati Peka about, and we can engage him further on this later on. So thank you, sir. I will ask you now to please switch off, mute your mic, and switch off your camera. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Mekialebo. Thank you very much.
Right. So I'm going to move on very quickly now, so that we move to 4:15. We did start a little late. We are going to give you 2 tasks for homework, right? The first task, and we will put this on the WhatsApp group, and we will put this on the Google Classroom. I want you to identify 3 important actions that you will take as a result of having participated in this webinar. You can put this into your chat box, and we would like to know what those 3 important steps are. And we want you to be able to develop an action plan around this. What would you like your school to be doing in 1 year's time? What are your priorities, and what do you need to do? We will put this task into Google Classrooms and give you further instructions on how to do that. By the time we meet for the next webinar, we would have looked at the homework that you have done. The second thing that we would like to do is to put up 9 quiz questions. We would like you to answer these quiz questions in Google Classrooms and on WhatsApp chat. And we will revisit these when we meet. Just before our second webinar starts, we will give some feedback in the opening session on these 2 tasks. So if we can just go back to the previous slide, we want you to think about three things that you are going to do next. Having participated in this webinar, what are the three things you are going to do? Why are you going to do them? And who will do them? The first thing we want you to do is answer these quiz questions, which will be forwarded to you before we start our second webinar. Can we move on to the next slide, please, Tuli? Here are some important links on partnerships, professional development, and the International School Award that Tuli spoke about earlier. If you go to these websites, you can begin fast forwarding your own information gathering and your own learning. Take responsibility, exercise your own human agency by visiting these important links. Next slide, please, Tuli.
Sorry, my...
Okay, I'm going to hand back to Tuli to help us close out the session.
Thank you so much, Ali, for that. And thank you so much, Ndate, for quite a succinct presentation. So halala to you and the moderator of the conversation. Halala.
Yeah.
So this brings us to a close of our webinar for today. I hope it's been a learning experience. I hope it has started you thinking about what we need to do. Just allow me quickly to go back to my slides. I apologize for this. I thought I had queued my slide, but it's important for us to feel complete, to check if we have met. Sorry, I really don't like doing this to you because I know it hurts your eyes. So when we started, just quickly, we said the first outcome is we want you to have started to consider the benefits and challenges of working with schools and other countries. I think we have done that. We said we would like you by the end of the webinar to have started to explore ways that global citizenship can enhance your learning. We have done that. We said we wanted to start exploring intercultural practice. We have done that, and I think our guest speaker for today did fantastically in embedding the learning for us. We wanted us to start considering preparation for international learning, and we want you to have identified the kind of things that we may need for support and what support is available for connecting classrooms. I am excited about some of the comments that keep coming up on the WhatsApp group. Please keep them coming because remember our WhatsApp group is a community of practice space where we can continue engaging even after the webinar is over. So this is, thank you very much. So this, my role is done and Ali's role is done. I'm going to head over to Tedman if he's still here to just close for us and wish our participants well and express our deepest appreciation for joining, staying so engaged in this call. Can I ask you just to finish before I give to Tedman, can I have a few people open your video so that we see you and open your microphones and then we just say hala hala together. Can we do that?
Hala, hala.
As
Hala,
many
hala,
faces
people.
as we can see. Hala hala to you.
Hala, hala.
Tedman, are you still here?
Yes, yes, yes.
Hala hala. Yes. Can you close for us? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tuli and Alison, for a fantastic and interactive presentation that we've had today. I was very privileged to have visited Tabana Shona, a primary school last year, October, when I visited Lesotho. And it's true that what Ndate Focus says is true. I was pretty impressed by what they are doing in a little school, the middle of nowhere, and they were trying to improvise lots of resources with what they had. So that was really powerful, having witnessed it. I would encourage everyone who are the 8 clusters that have been funded, that you can actually add value to your classroom learning by getting involved in global citizenship or programs like this. A big thank you to Sharon for the support she offers from the Wales side, and we look forward to having a very active and interactive community of practice with Lesotho schools. I would like to come back again. So thank you very much, Tilly, once again, and Alison, for a job very well done. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, Tedman. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Halala.